Real Talk with Grace Redman features conversations with fierce and fabulous people from Grace's community and circle who inspire others with their stories of overcoming challenges to create amazing. Grace is an entrepreneur and success coach who works with individuals to diminish their negative mental chatter, boost their confidence, achieve their goals, and increase their prosperity mindset. Get ready for a series of anything goes conversations with remarkable men and women that will get you jazzed for life's unlimited possibilities of success, freedom, and fun. Welcome to Real Talk with Grace Redman. I'm so excited today to have our guest and I'm grateful to be here on another episode of Real Talk, where I get to have real life, raw conversations with incredible people from my circles and communities who have just overcome challenges and created fabulous. I mean, I'm so grateful to be doing this and connect with these incredible people every week. And today I'm super excited about my guest. She's amazing. My guest today is Michelle Petties. She is an author, speaker, food story finder, experiential eating expert, and recovering food addict. Her debut book, Leaving Large: The Stories of a Food Addict, features personal and powerful stories that chronicle a lifetime of eating for all the wrong reasons. After gaining and losing 700 plus pounds over 4 decades, Michelle finally discovered the secret to ending the battle between her mind, body, and hunger: her food stories. By unlocking her own unique food stories, Michelle debunked long held misconceptions and misconnections about the purpose of eating. Armed with these insights, she now teaches others how to find their own food truths. Michelle studied at Wiley College in Marshall, Texas, and went on to earn a bachelor's from the University of Texas at Arlington. Born in Los Angeles and raised in Marshall, Texas, she now resides in Annapolis, Maryland, and I'm really excited to welcome Michelle to the show today. Welcome, Michelle.
Grace, I'm super excited to be here.
I'm so excited for you to be here today, too, because this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. And as I was reading your book, I was getting emotional.
Yeah, yeah.
I was getting emotional reading because I struggled with food and some I semi still struggle with, with food, and you kind of tying it to the emotions and the stories really hit home for me. So thank you for chronicling those stories and bringing it to life.
Yeah, what you said about being emotional, I hear that. I hear that a lot. You know that the story people can identify with the stories, and that just speaks to the fact that we are all more alike than we are different.
Oh, yes, girl. We are more alike than we are different. That's for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
So there's the stories, man. It was so important for me to write them in a way that I felt like what you just said, so that they could be relatable
Mhm.
and they could be raw and that they could be real. Um, and that has been all part of the journey.
And that's what resonates for me when it's real and raw and authentic. And you started it from the get that way. And the one of the first stories that I read, like when you were a little girl, one of the first Black girls in the school, and just sitting and eating your lunch and feeling isolated, that kind of took me back to the lunchroom, and the way that I coped with feeling isolated and alone was I went back for more chili dogs from the lunchbox. And the lunch lady was like, "You already had 3." But I was feeding my loneliness. I was feeding
Yes,
my pain.
yes.
But when you're 10, you don't realize that.
No, no. When you're 10, you don't realize it. When you're 40, you don't realize it. When you're 50, when you're 60, when you're 70, until you sit down and think about it, you don't realize it, right?
That's true.
And that's what eating for all the wrong reasons is all about. And as I wrote the book and as I coach people and talk to them about learning to eat for the right reasons, I say here are the 3 questions. Here are the questions we all need to arm ourselves with. One is this: if this food will not give me the body that I say that I want, why am I eating it? That's
Mhm.
question number one. Go straight,
Why?
go straight to it. Why am I eating it? Secondly, am I hungry? or am I something else? Right? Am I hungry or am I something else? And the secret to that, the trick to that is that, and I say this from my own experience, is that I spent so many times eating for the wrong reasons, I wasn't even able to identify real hunger. So
Mhm.
we have to figure out what real hunger feels like to be able to answer that questions. And sometimes we have to sit with it. And the third question is, why this food now?
Mhm.
Why this particular food now? And if what our food stories do is that they allow us to break the pattern of just eating, right? And when you read my bio, you talked about being an experiential eater,
Mhm.
right? Eating for the experience of it. If we just stop, if we just stop and ask the questions, think before we eat, evaluate before we eat, ask before we eat, just stop for a moment.
So and I agree. So it's the awareness, and that's
Yes.
what helped me. So can you give our audience an example of what that looked like for you in one instance?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Even though I'm on the other side of this, it takes work to stay on the other side of it,
It does.
and you have to do it. So I ask myself these questions all of the time.
Me too.
Now, and so here I'll give you an example. All right, let's see if I can. I want to give you a really good juicy one. All right, all right. So right when I was writing the book, toward the end of the book, I was compiling some of the stories. And if you read the story about Hilton Head and the pastor needs a plate, then this was in that time period. So my sweetie and I were on vacation. We were in Hilton Head and we were upstairs. We were sharing a duplex with some friends, and something happened. Right, something happened while we were upstairs. He did something stupid. Men will do that, right? He did something crazy. And it annoyed me. I mean, it was just like a little tiff, but it was just annoying, right? And so we're up there in the bedroom. I go down the stairs. When I go down the stairs, there's some nuts, some trail mix on the table. And as I'm going down the stairs, I reach for the trail mix as I'm walking out of the door. Just a handful of trail mix. And I'm about to put it in my mouth. And I say to myself, why am I eating this trail mix? Because I wasn't hungry upstairs in the bedroom when we were having this conversation. I wasn't hungry upstairs at the top of the stairs. Why is it that when I walked by that table and saw the trail mix, I picked up a handful of I love trail mix, by the way.
I
Right, right.
do.
And so I had to stop and look at it. Is that conversation had put me in a place of frustration, some discomfort, a little bit of anger, not a lot, just a little annoyance. And that food, that trail mix, which I like, was a source of pleasure. It was a source of distraction. It was a source of something that took me from that moment. It had nothing to do with hunger because if I was up there in the room, I would have said, I'm hungry. I think I'll go get some breakfast. But I wasn't. It's because it was there, right? It was there. I was annoyed, and I just reached for it to give myself a break for it. And imagine this: if you have annoyances, right, and microaggressions like that all day long, if
Mhm.
you're in a place of discomfort all day long where you're dealing with stuff and food is just always sitting around and sitting out, what are you doing all day long? You're not dealing with your discomfort. I needed to go back upstairs and say to him, you know what? You're a jackass.
I'm not eating these trail mix. I'm bringing it back.
I love you, but you're a jackass, right? That's what I needed to do, right? And so we do that all day long. So this book is about raising our collective
Mhm.
consciousness about why we eat what we eat. And if we can just get aware, right?
Mhm.
And I realized when I was writing it, and when I went on the program that I went on to lose weight, when I was like, this is the last time, I realized I was eating too much of the wrong things for the wrong reasons, and I was doing it unconsciously. And,
Absolutely.
and once I addressed the consciousness and the reasons, it made dealing with the what I'm going to eat and the how much easier. I didn't have to fight it. I didn't have to fight it because I understood what was happening.
So if what I heard you say is kind of the awareness. Once I know I'm aware, okay, this is the emotion. What am I feeling? Okay, I'm not hungry, I'm angry. and now I have to deal with this anger. But a lot of us, don't want to deal, so that's where we grab the food. It's the emotional eating, and I
Yes.
still do it. I still do it. However, I'm aware of it now. Like I'll
Yes.
know, I'm like, I'm about to eat this chocolate because I'm pissed the fuck off.
Right. Right.
And I'm like,
And you,
allow myself to eat it.
and you know what, Grace? It doesn't always show up that that it, so much in your face like that,
No.
right? Some Oftentimes it just shows up as this thing you feel in your stomach, this little twinge, and you think it's hunger, right? You think, oh, I think I'll get some chips, or I think I'll get this, or I think I'll get this, right? It's because something has happened. So that's why we have to stop. Whenever you're in that space and you think, oh, I think I'm gonna get whatever. I think I want this, whatever it is you want. I want some brownies. I want some ice cream. I want some potato chips. I want some nachos. Whatever. It's okay. What just happened? Who just came in the room? Who did I
Mhm.
just talk to? What just what just entered my space
Mm.
that caused that? And then you have to deal with that. So this is about, you know what? This is about moving food out of the way so that we can step into our full power, so that we can know it's okay. It's not even that it's okay to be angry, right?
It's
We
okay.
should. There are times when we should be angry.
Absolutely.
We are compelled to be angry, and we are compelled to express it. So it's stepping into that, because as long as we use food to suppress emotion,
There you go.
is we will never ever step into our full power.
That's
We
right.
won't step into our full power, nor will we experience what is our real gift to the world. Because our gifts are rooted in our pain. If we never
So,
feel it, we never get to it.
so what's something someone can do if, okay, now that they're about to reach for the chocolate, they stop, they ask the question, what's something they can do to distract themselves outside of eating the food, or to
Yes,
kind of get in that awareness,
yes,
or to feel like, what can they do?
yes, yes, yes. So I am so glad you asked that question, because here's the exercise. I am not hungry. I am not hungry. I am frustrated. Instead of eat, I will. I
Mm,
am not hungry. I am angry. Instead of eat, I will. I am not hungry. I am sad. Instead of eat, I will. So that I will fill in the blank is different for everybody. But here's the connection. Here's the thing that's so important, is that people say all of the time without thinking, and I wish this one thing could just happen: my relationship with food. I need to heal my relationship with food. I have a bad relationship with food. I need to fix my relationship with food. No, 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 no. We manage food. We manage food. We have relationships with people.
mhm,
And when we are conscious about managing food and having relationships with people, and not looking for food to do what we should get through people,
their connection.
then we can make the shift. Then we can make the shift. And the instead of, it can be as easy as, I'm just going to take 10 deep breaths.
Mhm.
It can be as easy, I'm going to take a walk. It could be, I'm just, I how about this? I have worked all day. I am tired. I'm going to go home and get something to eat. If you are tired, go to sleep. Tiredness and hunger are not the same thing,
Mm,
right? How
mhm.
many times? How many times have we thought that? Have we said that? We have to understand really clearly, and this is what I'm clear on, and this is what I want people to be clear on, is that the only problem that food will solve is hunger. It that is all. And if you're a praying person, you pray before meal. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I know a lot of people that do. We pray. Thank you, God, for this food, for the nourishment of our body. Right?
Mhm.
I would say that prayer, go to a Mexican restaurant and eat 5 baskets of chips.
I read that story.
There's nothing nourishing about 5 baskets of chips.
That goes back to what you're talking about in the book, is the stories, the relationship with food. And like, you met, you had this amazing connection with this, your friend, and you connected over the Mexican food and the chips. And so that's kind of connects, like connecting the stories to the food. And so that
Yes.
evokes the emotion.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
in our community and culture, it's like most of our connecting is done over food and drink.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
it feels so weird to go and be like, no, thank you. No, no, I'm not gonna have a drink. I'm not gonna have a food. But can we change the story around that?
Yes, we absolutely can. And we have to, for our own health, we have to change the story. We have to we have to separate food from the feelings that a food evokes. Because
Food gives me some pretty good damn feeling.
no, we have we Grace, we have got to separate it. And
Oh,
I
it's
am
so
and
good.
I and I am, and please don't misunderstand me. I am not saying don't enjoy food. I'm not saying food's not good. We just have to be clear on the purpose.
Yes.
And we have so many messages that tell us that food is something that is not. We eat for pleasure. We eat
Yes.
for entertainment. We say it's culture. Food is our love language. Food,
Mhm.
food, food is our power language. You asked me for an example. I'll give you an example that just happened 3 nights ago. I happened to run into a friend of mine who actually had read the book, right? She was one of the first people to read the book, and we ended up sharing a hotel room together. And her husband couldn't come. I needed a room. I stayed in. It's like that, right? But anyway, so she's bringing in her snacks into the hotel room, and I'm like, "Oh, look, you got some snacks, right?" And she said, "Oh yeah, I got them. I have them. I always have snacks." And so she said, "Oh, here, would you like to try these Teddy Grahams?" And I'm like, "No, no, thank you. But they're really good. I like them a lot. You should try them." No, no, thank you. You should have. I mean, just one won't hurt you. She came over with me, and I'm like, no, no, thank you. And I was insistent, and
Mhm.
she was insistent, and she finally got the message, right? And said, "Oh, okay." And then I kind of softened it and said, "I just had a power bar, so I'm really not hungry."
Mhm.
The next morning, I got up and had a banana. "Would you like a banana?" I said to her. And she said, "No, thank you." I said, "Okay." We teach people
Yes.
how to deal with us, because right after that she says, "I have some peanut butter crackers. Would you like some?" I said, "No, thank you." She said, "Okay."
Mhm.
Rather than that contentious thing. But
Mhm.
but here's what's so important about that teddy bear story, in that first story, the graham cracker, the little thing, is that in the old days I would have given in.
Mm.
And I would have fought it, right? And because I talk about it in the book, eating,
Yeah.
eating. I didn't want to because somebody insisted, and that was because I believe that their voice was more important and more powerful than my voice. And so when we do this work, we step into our own power
Yes.
over something as little as a teddy graham. So it was that.
Well, the people pleasing, and I find myself doing that now, um, because I know what I want to eat and how I want to eat it. And sometimes I feel embarrassed if I'm going to turn something down because then they're going to think, oh, look at her. She only wants to eat this.
Right.
And I still do this to this day because I want to fit in.
Yes.
And so you just brought something to my attention that as far as I've come, there are still moments where I people please when it comes to food so I can fit in.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book the way that I wrote it. And I talk about eating for the wrong reasons, because when people say I'm an emotional eater, first of all, we are all emotional eaters. We all eat emotional. We all eat out of fear. That's the first thing. If I don't eat, I'm going to starve and I'm going to die. I mean that that is the reason to
Oh
eat.
my god,
That-
I have fear of missing out on the food.
yeah. So that's the emotional reason that we all eat. We get into trouble when we eat for the wrong emotional reasons and we overeat. It's overeating emotional.
Yeah.
But the emotion that people, I hear more often than not, or I hear the most often, is I'm a stress eater and I'm a comfort eater. Though
Mm,
just those two, just those two.
mm,
Nobody talks about eating, and to some degree, what you just talk about, I'm a people pleaser, but people don't talk about eating out of fear. People don't talk about eating out of frustration. People don't talk about eating out of jealousy.
I never even thought about that.
So here's this. I'll share with you how that works. So you're on a program, right? You're on a program. Maybe you lost a little weight. You're feeling kind of good. You're out to dinner with everybody. The server comes with the dessert tray, brings out all the delicious dessert.
Mm,
Everybody else is having dessert, but you're full. But everybody else is enjoying the pleasure of dessert. And you want some because you are jealous of them because they're having some pleasure
mm,
that you aren't going to have. And we get stuck.
yeah.
We get stuck because the only sense, not the only sense, but taste is the sense that drives our behavior. We have at least five other senses that we can lean into and get our power.
Mm,
Taste is not the only way for us to enjoy food.
I love that. I love that because it just put a light bulb on in my mind. Taste is not our only sense. So when we're eating for emotion and for an emotionally reason, whatever that is, there's another way we can enjoy it, is what you're saying, through a different
Yes,
sense. It doesn't have to be through taste.
yes,
Interesting. I like that.
yes,
That resonates.
yes, yes. Because here's the thing: is that we think, and I say we because it was me. I did it for 40 years.
Collective.
I did it for 40 years. We think that our choice is the food. That's why I say it's not about the food, it's about the story behind the food. We think that food is the end. It is not. Food is a means to an end. Food is just a tool. Food is a tool for how we want to look, how we want to feel, and how we want to show up. And if we make a decision and we start deciding on the results we want to have in our life, we eat to that. Eat to how we want to feel, eat to how we want to look, eat to how we want to show up. Let that guide our choice rather than what does this taste like? For 40 years, that was my only criteria for what I was going to eat. What's good? What's tasty? What's
And
fun?
you went back to how is it going to make me feel? So the way that the way that what helped me was, if I'm going to eat this, what's the benefit to me?
Right.
And typically the benefit is I'm not going to feel good. I'm going to feel, too full. I'm going to feel drained. And so that started helping me change my, um, manage my, can I say relationship?
Ma-
Manage,
how you consume, how you use, how
yeah,
you view.
so manage, I know we don't want to use relationship, but kind of manage my perception of food. And what I noticed is as I started healing, my perception of food started to change. I
Yes,
wasn't using it as much to cope as I was before.
yes,
So as I
yes.
healed, I started to change. My relationship with food started to change. What I ate started to change,
Mm-hmm.
and how I feel. It's just I feel like it's a whole healing process that we don't really talk
Absolutely.
about, and now you're bringing it to the forefront.
Absolutely. Ap- it's a holistic process for
It
sure.
is. It
It
is.
is and so the healing and the food management comes hand in hand. And that's why it's so important to go to the story, because if we just focus on the what and how much, we never get to the place of healing. We
Mhm.
never get there. And why when I'm working with clients and we start talking about cravings, this is what I say: if you are craving something, if you have a craving for a food, there are many places that said go ahead and have a little bit of it. Have a little bit of whatever this thing is that you're craving. No. If you are craving something, eat something healthy. Get full. Get full. Eat some protein, eat a vegetable, eat an apple, eat some fruit. Get get full. Because then what you understand is the only reason to eat, the purpose of food is nourishment and nutrition, and the only problem that food will solve is hunger. So
Mhm.
once you get to a place of being full, and if you still have the craving for something, You still have the craving for the popcorn. You still have the craving for the brownie. You still have the craving for the, in my case, the bran muffin.
Brownie.
Right. You still have the craving for that. Then what you know is that that food represents an emotional place that you need some healing because
Mm.
you're hungry, because you're not hungry. You just ate. You just satisfied your physical hunger. That food represents something. That food means something. And so once we start to understand and get to what certain foods mean to us and separate the meaning and get to that, then we can step into the healing more.
And that's, I know it's, we talk about that kind of the awareness and the healing, but sometimes it's so unconscious we don't even really know.
That's why we have to ask the questions.
And what, so then what about beliefs? Like I know in the story I was reading, your story was where, you know, grandma always made these delicious meals and they wanted you to finish your plate. Like, and I've heard this before, you know, people are hungry, finish your plate.
Right,
So
right.
that's a belief that we have to finish all our food. And is that necessarily true?
No, it's not. They're just stories. We change the stories. Okay, so let me tell. I'll tell you one quick story. I'm going to tell you the backstory of one of the stories in the book. Um,
I love it.
and so I grew up in the South. I grew up in the '60s in the desegregating South in a small Southern country town. I think there might have been one Jewish family in my small town, and I didn't know them. Maybe I did. I mean, I went to the shoe store, but nonetheless. So when I started working, when I got my first job in advertising, I worked in Dallas, and a lot of the big advertising agencies were moving their offices to the Southwest, and a lot of the key people in those advertising agencies were Jewish, right? So I'm working for this advertising agency. I'm working for the woman that runs the office. She is like the big kahuna, big cheese, big
Mhm.
and everybody in the office, I mean, everybody in the community would like um, supported her, courted her. And so, because a lot of the people from New York were moving down, they were Jewish. They were Jewish. A lot of Jewish bakeries, I don't know if you call them, the delicatessens were opening up, and
Mhm.
so reps and vendors would bring in bagels. Right, they would bring in bagels because that's who the people were. And so I didn't know what a bagel was. I'd never seen one. So I think I said this in the book. I see my very first one, and I'm like, oh my God, those donuts are so big.
Oh, that was funny. I laughed. I laughed at that part.
And then somebody said, like, those aren't donuts, they're bagels. I'm like, oh, what on earth is this, right? So I try it. I tried one for the first time. It's kind of hard to chew, right? It's kind of hard to chew and kind of chewy. But everybody else in the office says it's good. I put some cream cheese on it. It's raisins. It becomes good, right? So now I'm exposed to this sophisticated New York
Mhm.
food that I'm enamored with because this is what all the people in the office say is good, and I take it home to my little small town, right? I take it home and I share.
The
Grandma,
bagel.
look at this. This is a bagel. And she said, what on earth is this? And so she tries it, right? And so she tries it, right? And she's like, and she has dentures, right? And so she's like, so she's like, you think this is good? This is tough. This is too hard to chew. No wonder you're so stocked up eating all that bread. I don't want it, right? So my whole point in telling this story is this. My grandmother tried that bagel in 1982. She never ate another one. She didn't care anything about it. It wasn't tasty to her. She didn't like it. It was too hard to chew. Stuff in her. She's not eating it. Well, I'm like I am. I like it. I like it. The people in the office say it's good. It's going to continue to be good for me, and I got it. So, but I'm saying this as a old Southern Black woman in Marshall, Texas. That bagel didn't mean anything to her.
Mhm.
For the people from New York, right? If they, I don't know if they came from Israel or the ancestors that came from Israel. This bagel is part of their culture. It's
Mhm.
good. I mean, and it was it means something to them, and they were so excited when the reps brought it in because it meant something to them. It is the same food. They didn't care that it was chewy, right? You boil it and then you bake it and you do all kinds of stuff. That's part of the thing for them,
Mhm.
right? It's
Has
all
me.
part of the culture. It's all part of the process. It's all part of the enjoyment. It is the same food, but but each person has a different story that they associate with the food. So if you are Jewish and you see a bagel, you get all warm and happy, and you that's associated with it. If you're me, right, and I
Mhm.
have one, I get all warm and happy too, because it now means to me that I'm moving up in this
Mhm.
advertising culture. It means that I'm exposed to new and different and sophisticated things, and the more I eat that, the more I'm that. And
Got it.
to my grandmother, it was something too hard to choose. She didn't want anything to do with it. Everybody's got a story.
Yep. And
So
it's like that's a beautiful example because, like you said, it's like wh even in the food and how we eat it, it goes back to a story. And one of the stories I loved, that you wrote about, the Cinnabon. Your aunt would make these amazing cinnamon rolls, and that evoked, like, comfort and fun and reminded you of family and cousins. So anytime you're out and you saw the Cinnabon store, like, you went to get a cinnamon roll, not because you wanted it, because it evoked that memory.
yes, yes. And if you continue with the story, you now understand I rewrote what I feel about it. When I see the Cinnabons now, I still think about my aunt. They still smell good. I go to them, they still look good. I have no desire to eat one. None, zero, none. And
Because
I
you're
and I do.
writing stories.
Yeah, I look at it and I think, oh my God, I wish we had known what we knew now, because my Aunt Dorothy would be a millionaire.
Right? Right, Cinnabon, I love those too. And actually my aunt used to, okay, this is gonna age me, but La Petite Boulangerie, and
Yes,
she used to have those cinnamon rolls, and same thing. And I used to, that would remind me of that. But I again, I love how you've taken these exercises that I also use in my coaching practice of reframing, rewriting the stories. But we typically never do it around food. It's always
yes,
around, okay, I'm feeling angry. What evoked it? And now you've taken that and tagged it to the food. Okay, if I'm going to eat this, what's the story behind it? What are you
yes,
feeling? What just happened? What
yes,
do you feel it in your body?
yes,
And to
yes,
gain that awareness.
yes, yeah. And it is so important, really, just to sit with that, and, like you said, reframe it, because we have the power to rewrite the story.
Mhm.
And the truth of this is, when we rewrite the stories about what we believe about a food, then it gives us the power to rewrite the stories in every other area of our life. It's a muscle.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
it's a it's a muscle.
that's right. And it takes practice. And
Yes,
I can speak from my journey with food that I've noticed, again, it got better as I healed, but each year, even from the time I was 10, because they put me on my first diet when I was 10 years old. So from the time I was 10 till now, every year I got a little bit better.
yeah,
It takes habit and awareness and consciousness. And
yes,
and I love food and I enjoy all foods. However, with that awareness, I know, like, most of the time, like, when to stop, what, like, I know if I'm gonna eat, I'm eating because 'cause I'm upset, but just the awareness itself has helped me, and I know you
yes,
talked about that quite a bit.
yes, yes. I mean, once you get to the awareness piece, then you can do what I call intentional substitution, right?
Yes.
It is so hard for people often to give up something, right? Oh, if I don't have this food, then what am I going to do? So I work with people to come up with a replacement list
Mhm,
first. You come up with the replacement list
mhm,
first, because when when we you just think, I'm saying, I'm depriving myself of French fries, right? I'm saying no to French fries. No, what you're doing is you're saying yes to a body that you want. You're saying yes to the health that you want. You're saying yes to how you want to live. You're saying yes to how you want to feel.
mhm.
So that's the list to come up with, the things that we're saying yes to. And when we have a compelling, clear picture of our yeses, then it makes it easy to say, I'm not going to put that in my body, because it is not going to get me to that yes.
And under that is our worth, choosing ourselves, self-love, self-care.
Yes.
That's the core of it. That's the
Yes.
core of it. That was beautiful. So thank God, just light bulb came on. It's like when we know our worth and choose ourselves, that's when we're going to make better choices. Not that we're going
Absolutely.
to enjoy, it's just we choose to make better choices. And it goes back full circle to the holistic healing and stepping into the pain instead of numbing it through food, through alcohol, through whatever we do.
Mm-hmm. And you know,
And
Grace, what you said here's the other thing, is that when you step through the pain, right, instead of numbing it, we have to understand and know that it's better on the other side. Even
absolutely, yes.
even though we don't know exactly what the other side looks like, we just have to believe that it's better. And so it is about shifting our mindsets from the very beginning, because so often people will say, oh my God, I have to go on a diet, right? And right there, there's this cloud over it. But if you're focused on, once I'm on this diet, once I change my eating habits, I'm going to look better, I'm going to feel better, I'm going to live longer, I'm not going to have diabetes, I'm not going to have high blood pressure, I'm not going to have any of
Mhm,
these indicators. Why wouldn't why wouldn't you be happy about that,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
And say, oh my goodness, I'm going on a diet so that I can be better in this respect, rather than just dealing with this thing that I'm giving up, rather than looking at the thing that you're going to gain once you do it. We have to stay focused on that result, and
Yeah,
that staying focused on that result and the joy and the place of being better is
the
what
freedom,
powers us through it.
the freedom. And I've learned also when I'm working with my clients, like it's a lifestyle change. Like there's no diet that works. And
Right.
I'm going to say that there's no diet that works. And if
Hmm.
you want to come after me, come after me. It's
Yeah.
a lifestyle change. It's a mindset change.
Yep. Yep.
It's
Yep.
a that you need to be committed to and consistent with.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a lifestyle change, and it is a fundamental belief change in your belief about
Yes.
what food means.
Yes.
It's a
It's
fundamental change. And where the diets have their place is that they can get you started. They can because there's some confusion about what to do, right? There's some
maybe like a
misunderstanding.
routine maybe I instead of a diet, maybe like there's a program that you could follow. Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
it can get you started. It can get you started and help you create some habits that help mold
mm,
the mindset
yes,
change, that mold the belief. Well, you're right, they don't work. What works is when you fundamentally change your belief system
yes,
about the purpose of eating and the purpose of food.
and you just said another great word, habits.
Yes.
And a lot of the way we eat is habit. We don't even realize it.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yep. That
So
habit.
many amazing nuggets. I mean, there's so much we can touch on, and we came out on habit and programs and the mindset, and there's so many different layers to all of this, and
It's it's real.
it is.
It's
And
real.
and then the something that clicked for me is like under all of this is like our self-love, our self-worth, and choosing us. Choosing us.
So, Grace, I know we're running short on time, but I wanted to like tell you this one story about being on the other side of this thing. I'm in Texas now, but I came home for Texas. I came home to Texas for Thanksgiving, and I was meeting a friend at a Mexican restaurant. One of my favorite places, right? My favorite food in Texas, where it's my all time favorite food. And she was running late and really ultimately couldn't make it. So I went to the bar, ordered my favorite jalapeno margarita,
Mm.
and I'm looking at the menu trying to decide what I'm going to eat. The server brings the chips, and I say to send them back. Not because I was going to be tempted, I just didn't want them, right? And so I said, send them back. And I'm looking at the menu, and I'm not really feeling that I want to eat anything, right? And I'm stunned by that. I'm like, how can I be in my favorite Mexican restaurant and not want anything that's here? I'm sipping on my drink, kind of trying to figure out why I'm in this place. And sitting next to me is a young man who sees my car keys, and he makes just a comment. And I want to set this up. I'm setting this up this way for a specific reason. There was a young man, and this young white guy, two white guys in their early 20s or so. And so he said something to me. We started a conversation, and I said, "Well, I'm here visiting from Maryland." He said, "Where?" I said, "Annapolis." Oh, I almost went to the Naval Academy, and we talked a little while. We talked a little while longer. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm a writer." And he said, "Well, what do you write?" And I told him about food stories. And after I told him about food stories, he sat And he said, "Oh my goodness, I think you have something. I think you're onto something."
Got the chills, Michelle.
And I said, "Why do you say that?" And he said, "Because now I understand why I get sad whenever I eat steak, peas, and mashed potatoes. That
Mhm.
was the meal I was eating when my parents told me they were going to get a divorce."
Oh, mhm.
And as I sat there, and it was his name was Brian Rancuzzi and David. I don't know what
Shout
their last
out
name.
to Brian
Yeah,
Rancusi.
they're in Arkansas. They're in Little Rock, Arkansas. But we sat there. But Grace, here's the thing: we sat there, Brian and David and I, and we talked for 2 hours. We
Connection.
talked for we talked for 2 hours. I never ate. I never got anything to eat. He kept looking at me. He said, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 63." And he said, "You're the same. You're the same age as my mama. You're my mother's age. You're the same age as my mother."
You
But
looking fabulous, girl.
but we talked. But here we talked about education. We talked about race. We talked about religion. We talked about economics. And as I sat there and we had this conversation, I thought these are a couple of things that I thought. 3 years ago, I would have missed that conversation. I would have never had that conversation because I would have been so focused on the food and the
Mm.
chips. I would have missed this relationship sitting
Oh,
right
yeah.
beside me.
So much
Would have missed it.
fun.
And in those 2 hours, we crossed the gender gap, right? We
Mhm.
crossed the race gap. We crossed the age gap. We crossed the geographical gap, all because we were talking about this thing that connects us all, which is food.
The connection, and that's what it comes down to, is just connection and being full from the connection.
Yes, it was full from the connection.
Yeah.
I left that restaurant never having anything to eat but completely satisfied
And
because
there,
it's not about the food. It's not
no,
about
it's about the connection, and it's
yes,
all about I fiend for connection. And
yes.
thank you so much for filling me today. It's been amazing, and we definitely have to chat more.
Yeah, thank
And
you so much for having me. It has been my
my
pleasure.
pleasure. There's so much we can touch on. I mean, this has been incredible. So many incredible nuggets of wisdom. And can you please tell our audience where they can find you?
Yes, 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 yes. So the book, Leaving Large: The Stories of a Food Addict, it's available on Amazon if you want to get it on Amazon or any retailer, any and if you don't have it in your library, ask your library to get it. But
Yeah.
you can also go to my website, which is leavinglarge.com, www.leavinglarge.com. You can order it from my website. I will sign it. I will sign it and send it to you. And you can connect with me on Instagram. I am brand new now on Instagram, on YouTube. Also, I am brand new now, and on my Facebook group, I am brand new now. But the best way to get the book is just to go to the website, Leaving Large: The Stories of the Food Addict.
And we'll also have all of your information, Michelle, at the bottom, so everyone will know how to get a hold of you. It's been amazing having you on today. This is a topic very dear to me. And thank you so much for all the information you shared. And thank you for those who are watching. I really appreciate you. I'm very grateful. I know there are so many other podcasts that you could listen to, and we appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed it, please share and rate. And until next time, I'm wishing you an incredible, beautiful day, and stay blessed. Thank you all so much. Michelle, hang on with me here. All right. Take care, guys. Hey, love. Thank you so much for listening today. I am so grateful for you. I'd like to show you my appreciation by gifting you a free forgiveness self-hypnosis audio download. Part of living the fun and fabulous life is practicing forgiveness. Forgiveness can be such a long and challenging process. My intention is that this forgiveness audio will help you in practicing forgiveness, especially with yourself. Grab it by visiting daretoachieve.com/forgiveness. For more inspiring tips, make sure to connect with me on social media. Drop me a line on Facebook or Instagram at Grace Redman, Dare to Achieve. Until next time, keep moving forward towards living your fabulous life.